Man, we're gonna get right into it. I mean, you definitely a part of hip hop history, so I gotta ask you, now where are you originally from? And for the viewers who may not recognize you, let them know what your name is.
Well, my name is a legendary cut creator, 2021 Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, from Queens, New York, Hollis, St. Albans area.
Okay, okay, cool. Now I gotta ask you, by you being from New York, how did you first get introduced to hip hop? I mean, was it already something that was going on in the community, or did you kind of tune into it through the radio or television?
Me personally, I started out with uh, music. I was playing drums and trombone and all that. And then when it kind of switched over, it kind of fizzled out, I should say. Disco and all that fizzled out, and hip hop came in, started coming in. And I was like, well, that's an interesting, thing to do with turntables and just play music for people. So that's how I really got involved.
Okay, okay, cool, cool. Now I gotta ask you, cause like a lot of times when people speak about the early history of hip hop, they definitely give it up for the Bronx. But what was the scene like in Queens at that time? Did y'all have b boys and graffitis and all of that going on as well?
You know what? People might get mad what I'm going to say right now, but where we were from, we didn't know none of the cats in the Bronx, man. We knew about Hollywood, we knew about Infinity Machine, we knew about the Disco Twins, um, Pete DJ Jones, Grandmaster Flowers. Like, to be honest, I never heard of Cool Herc. You know, there's a really good documentary that kind of it's how do you say, it's one of those documentary that you know the word I'm looking for, I can't think of it. It's suspect, and it's called Founding Fathers, and it's real interesting where the hip hop really started. So that's pretty much it.
Oh, okay, okay. I definitely appreciate you sharing that because you was around, back then. So it's good to
Yeah,
get that information out so we could, big up, a lot of the guys that you had mentioned because they definitely put that work in and influenced you as well. So I mean, like,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. Now, when did you actually get on the turntables? Did you start off DJing, or was you a b boy or a graffiti artist first, or?
Oh, I started off at turntables 1977.
Okay, okay, that's what's up. Now, now, how did you connect with LL? That's where a lot of mostly people know you recognize you from.
We grew up 3 blocks away from each other. And he's from my neighborhood.
Man, that's amazing. I mean, to grow up with LL Cool J because arguably, he'd tell you himself he the GOAT, but to a lot of people, they would say that that's the greatest rapper on earth ever. And for you to be able to not only grow up with him, but also be a part of that legacy and that music, like as you mentioned.
But what's interesting is within a 3 mile radius, you had Run DMC, Tribe Called Quest, Ja Rule, 50 Cent, Hype Williams, Russell Simmons, Spider D. Uh, you had so many artists within a 3 mile radius.
Man, that's
So
amazing. That's truly amazing to be surrounded by that. Yeah, Queens definitely got a nice roster of some of the greatest artists. You could pick a
yes,
handful of those
yeah,
guys and put them up there.
yeah, Salt and Pepper.
That's
Oh man, there was so many, and that's just on now side. We're not talking about Queensbridge and
hmm
all that.
right, right. That's amazing. When you're not from New York, it's just like wow, just to be a part of that, or even grow up at that time. It just seemed like it was just such an amazing era. Now let me see. Now when you connected with LL, did y'all start off doing music together, or was he already kind of doing his thing and you was doing your thing? Like how did that come about? You connecting with him on the music side?
Um, he was doing his things, but when we got together, we were doing little routines and stuff like that. but I wasn't really. I guess at the time I wasn't serious about it, like I am now, of course. I was more, getting ready to go back to school and stuff like that. And when he got the deal, his record deal, he needed me, and I just thought it was going to be a temporary thing. I didn't know it was going to be a lifelong thing.
All right. Now I can ask you, you know, in hindsight, obviously,
Oh, my bad. Something's going on with your phone, bro. Can't hear. Oh, yeah, I lost you.
there. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you now.
Mic check. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I apologize about that. I didn't tell you this, but I'm in the motherland. I'm in Africa, so sometimes the internet may trip out on me. If you could just be a little patient with me, I'm gonna edit it up and I'll take that part out.
Oh, man, that's awesome. What part?
I'm in Ghana right now. I'm on the west side.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me see. Okay, now this was my question. What I was trying to ask you. Um, in hindsight, obviously, Def Jam has became, if not the greatest record label, but one of the greatest record labels in hip hop history. What was it like at that time? Being one of the, I guess, earlier artists on that label and working with LL and working with Russ and Ruben.
Well, to be honest, with you it's the first. We were the first artists, so it was very, very bland. It was very stripped down. It wasn't a lot of things going on. Like the office was probably about, man. They had an MC. The office was small as heck, man. It was crazy. So it was cool, man. It was a learning experience. I learned a lot from it, and there was a few Heidi Smith, Tony Rome, Bill Adler. It was like real skeleton staff.
Okay, man. I can imagine. I mean, just getting it out the mud like that, and you being able to witness that, and also be a part of it. You helped put some of them blocks and them foundations together. I wanted to kind of talk to you about some of the projects that L was doing. He definitely would shout you out and make your presence known. You was there. You was on the scene. What was it like working on those albums and those projects, like a radio and a Rock the Bells and Go Cut Creative? How did you feel about that?
Oh, it was awesome, man. We used this one studio called Chung King. It was a dive, man. It was a dive, but it made some the classic hits. From us, Run, Public Enemy. Everybody used it. Um, when I said it was a dive, it was a dive, man. But it was fun. It was a lot of hard work, a lot of late nights. Like summers, we went to studio at 8 o'clock, then get out till 4 or 5 in the morning every night. So that was interesting.
Okay, wow, that's phenomenal, man. That's like a fan dream. Now I can ask you this: as a DJ at that time, because it seemed like the role of the DJ has evolved, throughout the different eras of hip hop. What exactly was your role? Like, did you DJ just for live performances or shows, or were you in the studio DJing and producing, or?
I did a little bit of the studio, but mostly I called myself a music director. Did most of the live shows. That I put the shows together, help put the shows together, I should say, and I you know just had did a lot of the live shows and TV shows and all that.
Okay. That's cool, man. Now I gotta ask you. You mentioned like TV shows and stuff like that. Now, when LL was in was it Crush Groove? Is that the movie? Was you in
Yeah,
that?
yes, I was.
Right. When he ripped it up for him.
I was
Now
the
what
one
was
holding
that?
the radio.
Right, and I gotta ask you now, what was that experience like? Was that your first film, and what was the feedback that y'all was getting after doing that? Did it just change
Um,
things for you?
yeah, it was the first film, and when it came out, it blew everything up. It literally blew everything up. Like it went from a, maybe a 5 to a 20. Like that's how it just jumped. It was like blew everything. We might have been making $500 a show or something like that, maybe 1,000, and the next thing you know, you're making 5,000. So it was crazy.
Wow, that's amazing. And then just to see how many, acting roles that L would later on and go and do, and then having his own TV show and starring in films, it like it planted a major seed.
Hmm. Yes, it did.
Yeah. Okay, okay. Now I can ask you about this. Recently, I guess in the past couple months, hip hop celebrated the 50th anniversary. Like I said, by you being somebody that was there in the early stages, um, in hindsight, how do you feel about that? Celebrating 50 years of hip hop.
Oh, it's an awesome feeling. It's an awesome feeling. This, being there damn near day one, uh, it was crazy. It was crazy. But there was a lot of, I know we didn't see all the crazy, all the hip hop artists. There was so many great hip hop artists that helped build this thing, and they, there's so many to name, like Hammer and believe it or not, Vanilla Ice and Luke and all. There's so many people, and some people didn't get their props, but they were contributors to hip hop.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Now I can ask you this. Now, did you work with LL exclusively, or did you get an opportunity to work with other DJs in any capacity, any other artists or rappers in any capacity?
Um, Mostly LL, but then I did some. I filled in for Jam Master Jay once or twice. Filled in for Terminator X. That pretty much it. Once or twice, but that was it. LL was exclusive, pretty much.
Okay, okay, man. Rest in peace to Jam Master Jay,
That's
a
right.
legend, a legend,
The
no
greatest
doubt.
of all time.
Yeah, yeah. Now I can ask you, you actually got a chance to meet him personally. If you could just share, some thoughts on him, like what type of person was he in terms of, running with Run DMC and LL back in those days, the golden era.
Well, Jason lived. I guess Jason lived 6 blocks, 6 or 7, 6 blocks from me. One of the nicest guys you ever want to meet. He taught me a lot. I mean, if it wasn't for him, man, I wouldn't be who I am. He taught me how to do things. He taught me how to, deal with people. He was real cool. Um, very humble guy. Give you the shirt off his back, man. One of the coolest guys.
Man, that's what's up. Uh, okay, I wanted to ask you about this. I was, online checking out some of your earlier interviews, and you had kind of spoke on kind of going to the West Coast and working with some DJs over there for the bigger Endeavor project. Could you speak on
Mhm.
that experience a little bit?
Oh yeah, my little brother Bobcat. Yeah, yeah. We worked on that. Bob is awesome DJ. Um, I put him up there with Jazzy Jeff, Cash Money. I put him up there with any Scratch, whoever. He's one of the best. Cool guy. Still, he's still around. I think he's gotten more into religion and stuff like that now. But still out here doing his thing. But that was
Okay,
awesome. That was awesome. That working with.
okay, okay. Now I can ask you now the time period for that. Was that like prior to the emergence of like NWA and Easy E, or was it the same time or a little bit later?
No, it was in the 86 into 87. Easy and them came out, I think, 88.
Okay, okay. Now that kind of lead into my next question. Now you got like, okay, you got hip hop, right? But then you got gangster rap, you got trap rap, you got mumble rap, you got snap, you got crunk. The list goes on. You have what we would call, a lot of people would call them sub genres. From your perspective, Do you view those as being a part of hip hop or the collective of hip hop, or is it just something totally different?
It's part of hip hop. Remember when, there was a time that, like, I guess around 88, 89, different types of rap came. You had Public Enemy, you had NWA, you had, if you didn't like that, you had LL, then you had Big Daddy Kane and Rakim, then you had Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul. So you had different, branches of it. My thing is, we have variations of rap. So, um, it, one style of rap is not, you know what I mean? Like they say, trap music. We got more than trap music. You know what I mean? So I just think there's, appreciate all aspects of rap.
I could dig it. I could dig it. Now I wanted to ask you about this. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. What does that mean to you? And could you even, just going back to when y'all first started, could you even see that far, like, being that great?
No, I didn't even think about nothing like that, man. You remember when there was no rappers in the Hall of Fame till about maybe 10, 15 years ago. So it was amazing, man. It was amazing to be honored. It was amazing to be on a stage out there. It was. I could have never, experienced that. I mean, I could have never expected that, I should say.
Yeah, man. It seems like that's the highest honor, or one of the highest honors. I mean,
Hmm.
that's just phenomenal. That's amazing. Now I can ask you, are you still DJing? Are you still into music? Are you still active, or are you retired?
Nah, I'm still DJing, man. I'm still DJing. I'm a DJ till I die.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Let me see. Now, do you have any like up and coming projects or anything like that, or shows, or like
Uh, yeah, I got a bunch of stuff, man. I'm doing a Fantastic Voyage again. I'm doing the rock and roll, hard rock casino with Mr. Cheeks and MC Search. I'm doing a bunch of stuff. I'm doing this thing called Proper. That's a all vinyl party. So I got a bunch of stuff. Too many to count, to be honest with you.
right, right? That sounds amazing. I heard about that Tom Joyner voyage, man.
Oh
I
yeah,
got
it's
to get
awesome.
up on one of them. Right, right. That's dope. Now I can ask you, you ever thought about doing like a maybe like a book or a documentary? Because I mean, the experiences that you have had, people just would dream about having. I'm sure you got a lot of stories and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's in the works right now. Definitely in the works.
Okay, okay, that's cool, man. So let me see. I pretty much went through the questions that I have for you. So I just want to really, really thank you again, and I do appreciate your contribution. You know what I'm saying? It just impacted. Like I say, I'm in Africa, so it's like the things that you was doing back in the '70s and the '80s. It's still being processed to this day. You know.
Okay, wow. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt, King. Yeah, I want to thank the viewers for tuning in as well. It's been a phenomenal episode. We had a legend in the building, and I'm honored. Um, Thank everybody for tuning in. Taye speaks. Peace.